Guys, good Thursday afternoon. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. It's good to be with you on a gorgeous Thursday, to be above the mud. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. So much to cover on the Thursday edition. I want to go solo today because I have a lot on my mind. Tomorrow, Carrie Rock of Do Good CVille on the program. But today, I want to get some things out of the notebook and into the I Love CVille Central Virginia ecosystem. We're going to talk some McAuliffe, some Youngkin, some Nakia Walker, some Brian Pinkston, some Juan Diego Wade, some Fitzgerald Barnes. We're going to talk Sierra, the sporting goods outdoor store opening in the Rio Hill Shopping Center. We will talk TJ Maxx, now open in the Rio Hill Shopping Center. TJ Maxx at a new location. So a lot to cover on the show. Pediatric and Associates is rolling out vaccinations for 5 to 11-year-olds as we speak. I know a lot of parents have already signed their children up for vaccinations. I know some parents hesitant to get the vaccine and waiting for a little more empirical data or a larger sample size of proof of performance with this vaccine. Of course, Ting is the crazy fast internet that powers the I Love CVille Show. Ting Fiber Internet. Dr. Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine, a proud partner of today's show. And boys and girls, our friends at the Boar's Head Resort, our partners at the Boar's Head Resort, have a fabulous event going on. Judah, if we can get that link on screen, the Winter Wonder, and give me a thumbs up when it's on there if you could, sir. Look at the screen now, look at the screen now, look at the screen now. That is the URL you want to purchase tickets to the Winter Wonder, a fabulous event that is going to be so Instagram worthy, so gorgeous worthy. They light the lawn, they light the landscaping, they light the grounds of much of the Boar's Head. And from November 26th to January 30th, you get to walk throughout this world-class resort and seeing the most beautiful light show you can imagine. A perfect outing for families, for couples, for date night, festivities over the holidays, the Winter Wonder at Boar's Head Resort. Get that link back on screen. All right, I talk about this briefly yesterday. We did a fabulous interview with Carl Seelman of Anytime Golf, the head golf pro at Anytime Golf yesterday, and Adam Dean, one of the most engaged members of Anytime Golf. So I want to bring this up now with me going solo on today's show where I can kind of take a deeper dive. Glenn Youngkin not only shocked Terry McAuliffe, but he shocked the country. And he is now the governor-elect, and he ran a campaign that you have to give to him was pretty darn strategic. First, McAuliffe and his camp did their darndest to try to Youngkin as a khaki-wearing, button-down shirt-wearing Donald Trump of Virginia. Everything out of McAuliffe's mouth at the end was Youngkin and Trump. Youngkin and Trump. And as we've gotten further and further and further away from the Donald Trump presidency, and now 11 months with Joseph Biden in the White House, the nostalgia, the emotional connotations that voters have with Trump is starting to fade and erode. So this co-branding strategy that McAuliffe and his team did of calling Youngkin the button-down shirt, khaki pants, Donald Trump of Virginia proved to be less effective than they initially planned or thought. I think Democrats, if their path or their strategy for success is to utilize the emotions and the feelings of Trump to their advantage, that strategy, every day that goes by, every day that Biden is in office, that strategy erodes from a proof of performance standpoint. When McAuliffe made the comment that parents should not have say of their children's curriculum in schools, that upset a lot of people. Youngkin, I'm not going to lie, he's got some items that really concern me. Youngkin's stance on abortion, Youngkin's stance on gay rights. Some of these items really concern me. You know me to be fiscally conservative and socially liberal as a libertarian. But for the most part, Youngkin ran a campaign that was middle of the road and moderate. Youngkin distanced himself from a lot of the mudslinging, and McAuliffe undoubtedly, in particularly August 12th, has some skeletons in the closet that he had to reckon with. I mean, it's no secret that McAuliffe's kids went to private school. So to make the comment that parents shouldn't have say over their children's curriculum when he, in fact, sent his kids to private school, is hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. So now we have a month and a half, a little more than a month and a half before the governor-elect heads to Richmond and becomes the governor for the next 4 years. I thought you undoubtedly in the Commonwealth of Virginia saw a turn of tide in the booth as Republicans in the GOP gained market share. They gained offices and market share. Both parties, the GOP and the Democrats, it's time for both parties to start evolving, becoming more approachable, becoming more of the 2021, 2022 voter mindset. Millennials and Gen Zers want more than the GOP of old and the Democrats of old. We want parties we can relate to. And you would be very surprised with how many voters, Virginia, Charlottesville, Albemarle County, the country, that are socially liberal and fiscally conservative. I think we would all be surprised with how many moderates there are. Moderate Democrats and moderate Republicans. The Ronald Reagans and the JFKs of old. On social media, we have this silo or this snapshot of 30 or 50 of our friends evenly divided on each side, bickering with each other. 25 Dems on one side on social media and 25 friends of the GOP on the other side. And they convolute and they crowd and they monopolize our news feeds. But those 50 people in each of our individual social media ecosystems are certainly not indicative or representative of voting blocks in totality. As the country moves forward, we've become much more fiscally conservative and socially liberal with our ideologies. I mean, hell, 20, 25 years ago, think about some of the key voting issues. 20, 25 years ago. Gay rights divided the country. Abortion divided the country. Taxes, it still divides the country in a lot of ways. Cannabis, divided the country. Today, 2021 going into 2022, the voting bloc is much more open-minded, much more tolerant, welcoming, empathetic, understanding of issues where just 20 years ago were divisive and the lightning rods. Now, what's the dividing factor? What's the divisive topics? Our children, education, government mandates. Think about what the dividing topics are now. The dividing topics now, educational curriculums with elementary, middle, and high school. It's not gay rights. The dividing topics now, governmental mandates, vaccinations, and masks. It's not abortion. Ideologies have evolved. And the GOP and the Democratic Party must continue to evolve and stop being this stodgy, unapproachable, rigid, and closed-minded two-party system. Been thinking about that a lot since Tuesday. Now let's get local. Pinkston and Wade on council. Our 5-member council on January 1 is going to be way more consistent, way more reliable. We are no longer going to, on January 1, have to open up social media and be fearful, trepid, scared, downright disturbed, depressed, demoralized, and horrified of what one elected official is doing on social media. On the 1st of January, we are going to know our city councilors from a name standpoint a lot less. Snook and Payne and McGill and Wade and Pinkston will be much more in the background than the forefront. I want leadership, not only in the county of Albemarle, not only in the city of Charlottesville, not only in Central Virginia's various jurisdictions, not only in the governor's mansion, not only in the Congress, and not only in Congress, in the Senate, not only in the White House. I want leadership that is about policy and decision making and less about building personal brands. I want leadership that is more focused on moving municipalities and jurisdictions forward positively through physically mindful decision making and less about driving global headlines because of personal narratives and personal beliefs. On the 1st of January, we get this. And when the 5 counselors that are the board of directors, essentially from a business type setting of the city of Charlottesville, and the city of Charlottesville is a business. You got a yearly budget over $200 million. Our money, your money, your money, your money, my money, Judah's money, our money funds this jurisdiction. Albemarle County, $400 million plus. Your money, your money, your money, my money, Judah's money funds the $400 million plus of the Albemarle County jurisdiction. Damn it, we have a say in what's happening. Our money offers us a seat at the table, our tax dollars, right? $200 plus million a year, city of Charlottesville, $400 million plus a year, Albemarle County. Damn it, we have a seat at the table, and we have some decision making, and we have skin in the game. And as 5 counselors go from the forefront to the background, you're going to start seeing these empty positions in City Hall populated. You're going to start seeing city managers applying for the job because they know the dividing factor is out of the equation. And as talented city managers apply for the CEO position, reporting to the board of directors, the city councilors, and when one city manager is tabbed or selected or handpicked and put into play, he or she will begin populating open positions with talented individuals and offering them the autonomy to do their job. And when you give seasoned and experienced individuals autonomy, latitude, leash, and the ability to work on their own accord with some oversight management, the jurisdiction, the city, the town we love begins to click and run flawlessly like a generational Rolex watch that's passed from son to grandson and son and down the family tree. I'm excited, invigorated, hopeful, ready for the 1st of January. Now you got to ask yourself this question, and please bear with me. Please bear with me. What's left for Nakia Walker to do? It's November 4th. I can assure you that our current mayor, in the 57 days she has left in office, is going to do something bombastic, something damaging. 57 days left. And after those 57 days tick, 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 tick by, how many bridges have been burned? How many relationships have been destroyed? How many opportunities have been doused with gasoline and then burned into flames? Hundreds, if not thousands. What's left for someone who has compared the city to rape and male ejaculation fluids? Who would hire? Who would employ? Who would trust? Who would take that risk? I assure you, those are thoughts that she is having now. And when you spend 4 years as the face of a jurisdiction and you tell the world's newspaper that's in an ugly to the soul kind of place the collateral damage of that behavior is limited future in one's hometown. These are facts. This is reasonable thinking. Nonprofits, small business owners, entrepreneurs, folks that want to start companies, folks looking for peace and harmony, folks uncertain about what's coming on social media next. 57 days left. And those feelings are erode away, disappear, and they evolve into feelings of hope, of promise, of potential, of positivity, of a city we know that is world class and one that should not be disparaged in publications, but should be elevated and championed in publications. Guys, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. A couple other items I want to get to. Mr. Fitzgerald Barnes, longtime friend of this program, a gentleman who encouraged me nearly 14 years ago to go into business for myself, to leave a career where I was an editor at the Daily Progress, working 45, 50 hours a week, hosting and executive producing 2 television shows at NBC 29, Varsity Lights on Sunday mornings at 11:30, I think it was. The Jerry Miller Show, Saturdays at 11:30 on CW 29. And freelance writing for various magazines and newspapers up and down the East Coast and across the Commonwealth. I was in my mid-20s. I was working 85, 90 hours a week. Many of those hours were in the evening and on holidays and the weekends, because that's when newspaper writers and certainly sports writers do their grinding and have to file their stories, because that's when the games transpire. I was making good money, decent money, 85, 90K as a mid-20-year-old, working my ass off, not much of a personal life, couldn't really see my family. I remember talking to people I trust, my girlfriend at the time, my mom and dad, my brother, and some inner circle friends, and I told them about 14 years ago, I'm going to quit this gig as a local media mogul, editor of the newspaper, 2 TV shows, executive producer, on-air host, freelance writer. I just outlined the compensation I was making. I'm going to quit all this, and I'm going to take my life savings, I'm going to start a company. My mom and dad said, "You're bananas, you're crazy, what are you doing? Don't you do that." My best friend said, "You're crazy, you're nuts, this is ridiculous. Keep doing what you're doing, you're making good money, just keep focusing and keeping your eyes on the prize." My girlfriend at the time said, "You're stupid, this is idiotic, this is the most moronic thing you can possibly do. I don't think I can continue being with somebody that doesn't have a stable job." Few people offered support, foundation, and positive perspective for the decision that I was about to make. Fitzgerald Barnes was one of them. I'll get to that in a matter of moments. I tell this story often. Quit my jobs, editor, executive producer, TV host, freelance writer, quit my jobs, took the little life savings that I had, launched a company. That company didn't have any clients for about 5 or 6 months. I was hitting the streets, I was hitting the bricks, I was knocking on doors, I was going from 80 to 85 hours a week to 100 hours a week, legitimately 100 hours a week, where you wake up in the morning, you work all day, all night, and into past midnight. You sleep from 1 to 6, 1 a.m. to 6 a.m., and then you get up and you do it again, and you do it 7 days a week. Holidays, weekends, that's what you do. Life savings dwindles down to next to nothing. Last 30 days, getting hopeless, thoughts of giving up. I'm going to the McDonald's for double cheeseburgers because they were $1.04 and it was enough food to keep me filled for a day. One double cheeseburger. When I wasn't doing that, I was going to that Panda Garden buffet over there on Emmett Street. I think it's like a salt and kebab now. Remember, it was Carmelo's at one time. I believe it's some kind of kebab restaurant right now. Would go to that Panda Garden buffet. The lunch buffet was $4.99. And when the folks weren't looking, I'd take Ziploc bags out of my pocket. I'd scrape food off the plate, put them into 3 or 4 Ziploc bags, and stuff them in my pocket or my backpack, my computer bag, my laptop bag. And that was legitimately my food for a few days, and Lucy, my dog's food. Money was so tight, we weren't buying food for the dog. I wasn't buying food for the dog. Got so desperate that I was close to defaulting on the mortgage, on the condo that I owned in the villas at Southern Ridge. Had to welcome 2 of my friends into the condo. It was a 3-bedroom condo. And I rented them 2 rooms, one apiece, for $400 each. They got the hookup. Market value for rent for us in our mid-20s was like $625. I covered all utilities, cable, electric, water. They just had to pay a flat $400 a month, $800 total a month. If those 2 fellas, Tom and Shannon, had not moved into that condo, I would have lost that property. I would not have been able to pay my mortgage. Today, that condo is a rental property. Today, we're 14 years into grinding, owning a handful of businesses and a lion's share of a building on Market Street, downtown Charlottesville. 24 tenants on a roster. Got a friend, someone I call family, and Judah Wickower working side by side for 10 plus years together. I bring this story to your attention because few people, when I launched this business and decided to quit my gigs in media, few people encouraged me to do it. One of them was Fitzgerald Barnes, who encouraged me to do this. He was the athletic director at Monticello at the time. He saw how hard I was working, and he saw the potential. This guy, Supervisor Fitzgerald Barnes, as of this morning, was in an absolute dead heat in the Patrick Henry district of Louisa County and its Board of Supervisors race. Listen to this. Mr. Barnes, a 7-term supervisor, has a single vote lead. 1,234 votes for Mr. Barnes to 1,233 votes to the challenger, William Woody. Think about that. When Neil Williamson of the Free Enterprise Forum says elections matter, every single vote counts, Barnes has 1,234 votes. His opponent, the challenger, William Woody, has 1,233 votes. 1 vote margin. And listen to this. There are 24 absentee ballots that could arrive to the Louisa County Registrar's Office by deadline at Friday at 12 p.m. Good night. Good Lord. Ay mi madre. I cannot make this up. This is the foundation of Hollywood scripts. 7-term incumbent challenged by William Woody, and the difference is 1,234 votes to Fitzgerald Barnes, my man, to 1,233 votes to Mr. William Woody, and 24 absentee ballots may or may not arrive to the Louisa County Registrar's Office by high noon on Friday. I was about to use a profanity. I'm not going to use profanities. My 3.5-year-old is in the parroting stage, and Daddy, me, enjoys utilizing the F word from time to time. And now he's pivoting the use of the F word and the S word to fudge and sugar. Instead of saying JC, it's now cheese and rice. Instead of saying the F word, it's now fudge. And instead of saying the S word, it's now sugar. If he says sugar at first, if he says sugar and fudge and cheese and rice at preschool, that's a little more socially accepted than the other one. 24 absentee ballots Friday at high noon. I mean, Neil Williamson says all the time, President Free Enterprise Forum, every vote counts. Every vote counts. Well, this race is a microcosm of why elections matter. And this race should be front and center of every child, middle school, high school, college student, millennial, Gen Zer, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old, who is thinking about whether or not they should head to the voting booth on a rainy Tuesday. We just had a chilly, rainy, parent-teacher conference, COVID voting world this past Tuesday that diminished voter engagement. One vote with 24 absentee ballots potentially on the horizon. That is bananas. Absolutely bananas. A couple things I want to bring to you. Pediatric and Associates is rolling out Vaccinations. And I'm going to read you their Facebook post. Pediatric and Associates is rolling out Vaccinations on Saturday, November 6th. Good night. That's this Saturday. And they're going to start vaccinating the highest risk 5 to 11-year-old children starting this Saturday. The highest risk children are those with underlying conditions, medical conditions, those who have health issues, and the children who live with, and I'm reading it, the children who live with grown-ups at risk, those in multifamily homes, those who are African American, Hispanic, American Indian, Pacific Islander families. So if your child is 5 to 11 years old, and your child has medical health issues, underlying or complicating conditions, health issues, and or your child is African American, Hispanic, American Indian, Pacific, or living in a multifamily home, you get priority for this vaccination at Pediatric and Associates. The vaccines roll out Saturday. I continue to be startled with the vaccination hate. I continue to be dismayed with the vaccination negativity. I continue to be angered with the vaccination mudslinging. Whether or not you choose to vaccinate yourself or your children, from my standpoint, is your business. But if I choose and I'm vaccinated, I'm going to get my booster. My wife's vaccinated, she's going to get her booster. And as soon as our little boy is able to get vaccinated, he's going to get vaxxed. I am not going to mudsling. I am not going to throw shade, throw hate on people who are choosing not to do it themselves. That's not how I was raised. That's not the golden rule mentality I try to live my life by. I'm far from perfect. I often break that mentality. I often fall short of that mentality. But for all intents and purposes, I try to live by the golden rule. But today, yesterday, this week, I'm startled by how many people are so quick to throw shade and hate and tear down people that are choosing to get their kids vaxxed in the 5 to 11 age group. Moms and dads love their kid. And if a mom and dad wants to get their 5 to 11-year-old vaccinated, respect it. Respect it. If you don't want to get your 5 to 11-year-old vaccinated, respect it. Eventually, and prepare yourself, the vaccines are going to be mandated for public school enrollment, just like chickenpox and polio. And you have the opportunity, if you don't want your kids to get the shot, to not enroll in public school and to homeschool or go private school. You have that choice. But I'm tired of the shade and the hate and the negativity and the name-calling and the insulting and the tearing down of people because of decisions they're making when neither of us on either side of the vaccination line know truly the right answer because the data sample size is not deep enough. Why I'm doing it, my wife's doing it, and why our son will eventually do it is because we're folks of science who trust medical professionals because they know more than I do. I'm a media, advertising, real estate guy. Do I know about vaccines? No, I don't. My wife is a finance person. Majored in finance, worked at the #1 hedge fund in the world at Blackstone before I seduced, romanticized, and persuaded her to quit this high six-figure job to come down to Charlottesville and start a family and a life with me. We realize that our strengths are not medicine and science. So we trust the professionals whose strengths are medicine and science. And we utilize that trust as the foundation for our decision making. From my standpoint, that's called common sense. Trust advisors that are more experienced than you. Two other items I want to get to. Sierra, the outdoor sporting goods. I mean, how would you describe Sierra? I'm going to look up Sierra. Sierra is, this is how Sierra describes it. It's in Rio Hill Shopping Center, Sierra. Sierra is they have gifts for men, like athletic shoes, sneakers, boots, activewear, shirts and tees, jackets, coats, pants, jeans, fleeces, belts, sunglasses, outdoor gear, similar stuff for women, similar stuff for kids. They have stuff for the home and pet. It's like Dick's married TJ Maxx, and Dick's married TJ Maxx, and they birthed a baby, and the baby they birthed is Sierra. Dick's Sporting Goods had a little tequila, a little steak dinner, had a little sushi, which is what's the word, aphrodisiac? Is that encourages you to bump uglies? Isn't that what an aphrodisiac is? Yeah. It encourages you to get a little frisky, right? Okay. So Dick's Sporting Goods store and TJ Maxx had some sushi, the aphrodisiac, had a little bit of wine, a little bit of tequila, had a little candlelight dinner, went a nice walk after dinner, played a little Kenny G smooth jazz, had some nice clean sheets and some fluffy pillows and a California king, and next thing you know, they birthed a baby called Sierra. Dick's meets TJ Maxx. Opened in the Rio Hill Shopping Center. Right next to TJ Maxx, who moved locations in the Rio Hill Shopping Center. This is gaining a lot of traction in Charlottesville. People love TJ Maxx and Sierra. My wife loves TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx, the parent company, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, HomeGoods, Sierra, and HomeSense, those 5 brands, all one company, the TJ family. TJ Maxx, Marshalls, HomeGoods, Sierra, and HomeSense. My wife loves the treasure hunting experience of TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and HomeGoods, where she goes there. Her husband, me, doesn't really love it that much. I hope you're watching here, sweetheart. She goes there, she's not sure what she's going to purchase, and next thing she knows, she comes home with like a lamp, a rug runner, and some kind of fluffy couch pillow. Or she comes back with some kind of piece of art and a lantern and a bowl full of potpourri. Or she comes back for, last year's model of Under Armour tees and some skinny jeans. I'm like, do we really need this? She goes, it's so fun to go treasure hunting at Marshalls and TJ Maxx and HomeGoods. I'm like, whatever. Happy wife, happy life. So TJ Maxx, Marshalls, HomeGoods, Sierra, and HomeSense, same family. The TJ Maxx has moved locations in the Rio Hill Shopping Center, and its sister store, Dick's meets TJ Maxx. They fornicate and they have a baby, and that baby's called Sierra. Sierra's now open in the Rio Hill Shopping Center as well. Rio Hill went from this kind of like afterthought shopping center to having some pretty legitimate brands, the Rio Hill Shopping Center. I mean, when you have TJ Maxx and Sierra, and what's the other one? What's that Zero store called? Sweetheart, if you're watching. Someone tell me what that Zero store, it's like a discount store, Zero something, I'm drawing a blank here. Is it Gravity Zero or something? I forget what it's called. It's on 29 North. It's in the Rio Hill Shopping Center. Let me see if I can find it. Rio Hill Shopping Center Zero. What's it called? I forget what it's called. Anyway, they have a discount store that has like Zero in its name. I forget what it's called. If you guys know, let me know. That shopping center has been revitalized. And I believe it's Pritzloff and Stoner leading the charge of Tolheimer. Pritzloff and Stoner are doing amazing things from a commercial real estate standpoint. Let me get to your comments here. Vanessa Parkhill's got some comments. Johnny Ornalis has got some comments. Neil Williamson's got some comments. Alex Erpy's got some comments. Kelly Jackson, oh, I love you, KJ's got some comments. Rosemary Postel, que pasa, chica? ¿Cómo estás, Rosemary Postel? Love when you watch the show. Neil Williamson says this, President, Free Enterprise Forum. Every vote matters, as evidenced by several recent close elections. In the 2013 Samuel Miller District race in Albemarle County, Liz Palmer won a Board of Supervisors contest by 874 votes. The same year, Jim Friddle won his Greene County Supervisors race by 33 votes. In 2011, Supervisor Davis Lamb won his Ruckersville seat by just 15 votes, with 41 votes going to a candidate who had dropped out of the race. And then he shares a link from the Free Enterprise Forum. Neil Williamson, this is for you, homie. Alex Erpy, thank you, Alex. I love you, Alex Erpy. I love the entire Erpy family. Dude, Emergent Financial Services, Alex Erpy, Xavier Erpy, Michael Erpy, Nicholas Erpy, and the fabulous Mrs. Erpy, the Elmer's glue of the family. Emergent Financial Services is the firm you guys want to be working with, man. And these guys will work with folks of any income level that are looking to grow their wealth and their retirement potential and opportunities. Emergent Financial Services, they are class, God-fearing, highly honest, high character, integrity people. I love the Erpy family. I love them. Alex says, you, sir, are also a testament to Latino entrepreneurs and what we are capable of. Thank you, Alex. A lot of people don't realize this. Yes, my name is Jerry Miller, but I am half Cubano. Mi madre es cubana. My mom, my mima, and papi came from Cuba when my mom was in the 3rd grade because of fears of Castro and his dictatorship. Mima and papi and my mom left a very good middle-class life in Cuba to go to Miami and South Florida and eventually Naples, Florida, where Papi became a ditch digger and a barber, and Mima became a hotel maid, and my mom was put in the 3rd grade without being able to speak English. She was ridiculed constantly as a Spanish-only speaking 3rd grader in an English-speaking school. And when you mention this story or this experience to her to this day, and she is 71 years old now, my mom gets emotional and tears accumulate in her eyes because of the PTSD. What is it? PTSD? What's the PTSD?
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, PTSD that she experienced in 3rd grade, where for a year and a half of her life, she could tell that kids were making fun of her. She could not understand them, but she knew that she was the butt of jokes and being humiliated by children. Kids can be so cruel and mean. They gave up a middle upper class life for a lower class life in South Florida because the lower class life had one thing that the middle upper class life did not. And that's one word, and it's called freedom. It's called freedom. It's called freedom. And we should never, ever, 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 ever take for granted the freedom we have in this country. And if a ditch digger and a hotel maid can leave their entire life savings to their 2 grandchildren, my brother and I, and their entire life savings was $19,000 when they died, and say to their grandchildren, Jeffrey and I, you boys can use this $19K only for college tuition at the University of Virginia. $9,500 each, which what? Maybe paid for a semester and change? If Mima and Papi can do that, we can do freaking anything in this country if we put our mind to it. I remember growing up in Naples, Florida, before we moved to Williamsburg, Virginia. My mom and dad, also entrepreneurs, they launched this CPA. My dad was a CPA. My mom was the front of the office, the admin, and the bookkeeper, and the people that the clients came to see, because she was so friendly and bubbly. And my dad was the reason they kept coming back, because he was so good at being a certified public accountant. My brother and I grew up in that CPA office. We grew up in an office, in a room that was called the copier room, at a time when you needed an entire room to hold the copier, because they were so big. And we would be in this copier room, and we were told to be quiet because Dad was seeing clients and Mom was up front greeting them, and we were told to do our homework because if we didn't get straight A's, we couldn't play sports. I remember being 1st and 2nd grade and going to Poppy's garage. Even Poppy raised us because my mom and dad were working so hard growing this business. I mean, CPAs are brutal life, dude. January 1 to April 16th, if your father's a CPA, you don't see your dad. Come extension time, you don't see your dad. And if your dad happens to be the owner of the small business, you really don't see your dad at all because he's a CPA and he's the owner of a business, so his time is really monopolized. So Mima and Poppy raised us, and I remember going into the garage of Mima and Poppy's house. My parents didn't have a lot of money. Mima and Poppy didn't have a lot of money. We ate a lot of black beans and rice and a lot of toast, a lot of Cuban toast. And I remember Poppy cutting our hair. Like he was a barber, so he would cut Jeffrey and I's hair in the garage. Poppy was a strong guy. He would always be in those white tank tops, those white tank tops, those undershirts. They have a very bad nickname of, the wife beater tank tops. You know, guys, what I'm talking about. He was always wearing those white tank tops tucked into his slacks. Always had beat up shoes from working outside. Had a beautiful mango tree in the backyard. Always had mangoes. He'd cut the mangoes down from the tree, and he had his pocket knife in his pocket, and he'd peel off the outer layer of the mangoes and cut my brother and I little slices of mangoes to eat. And that's how we grew up. It's amazing. I was talking about this with my wife. Children, to a certain age, they don't realize if their parents are poor, or if their parents are rich, or if they're lower class, middle class, or upper class. And we, in the beginning, as my parents were growing the business, we were poor. Mima and Papi were poor. My mom went to community college. She happened to marry a UVA graduate, and my dad, commerce school graduate, who worked for Arthur Andersen. Arthur Andersen, now no longer a CPA firm thanks to the Enron scandal. Dad's job was auditing banks. And he audited a bank in Fort Myers, Florida that my mom commuted to from Naples. And my mom was the manager of the tellers. And she worked side by side with my dad, this shy and bashful, ridiculously intelligent, probably the most intelligent person I've ever been around, my father. And she's having to work. She was instructed and ordered by the bank manager. She was the manager of the tellers to work alongside my dad, who was auditing the bank. They met, and 3 weeks later, he proposed to her. They had one date, a chaperone date. Cubans, especially back in the day, you didn't date without a chaperone. One chaperone date. He said he kissed my mom twice, but he knew right away and he proposed to her. Now they're 40, I should know the exact, 45 years of marriage. They started a business, sold that business, moved us to Williamsburg, and then we went from being poor in Florida, in Naples, Florida, to coming to Williamsburg. And then I started realizing, in the 4th grade, wow, life has changed quite a bit. It's no longer Mima and Papi and Cuban toast and black beans and rice and haircuts in the garage. Now we're going out to dinner more. Now we're, having clothes that aren't from the thrift store. Hand-me-downs. Now we can do stuff. And then they bought there. And the reason they were a success story, they sold their practice in South Florida. I watched my dad I was in 3rd grade when I moved to Williamsburg from Naples. So he started the practice, he was doing the practice before I was born, so maybe 15 years, don't hold me to it, roughly 15 years of busting his ass. To say he was busting his ass is an understatement. The dude was clocking 100 plus hours a week for 15 straight years. Sometimes he was sleeping in his office, in a room on a cot, and then changed his clothes and did a shave in the bathroom sink, and then went to work the next day without leaving the office. They sold the practice, moved us to Williamsburg, Virginia, built a home in a fabulous neighborhood called Kingsmill off of Route 199. My brother and I went to Walsingham Academy, first Williamsburg Christian Academy, then Walsingham Academy, and it was then in 4th and 5th grade I was like, whoa, this is different living than what we had in South Florida. Then he did it again. Bought a struggling CPA firm from is the word fledgling? Fledgling? I'm just going to call it struggling CPA. Bought another practice from a struggling CPA, revitalized that CPA as if the practice was on the operating room table. He got out the electric shocker pads and shocked the practice back to life. Ran that for another 15, 17 years. And then sold that one. Kids don't realize until they get, I don't know, I think I was in the 4th or 5th grade when I started realizing. But it wasn't until like the 4th or 5th grade that I started realizing what like growing up poor was. And then from growing up poor to being like, say, middle or upper class. I wouldn't even say upper class, I'd say higher middle class. And another thing, kids are so resilient. I've been so impressed with my son and his friends, with the resiliency that they've shown through COVID. Wear a mask? All right, Dad. Learn from home? Okay, Dad. Stay 6 feet apart from your friends? I understand, Dad. COVID's going on? Okay, Dad. I'll be okay. They don't complain. They don't have connotations and denotations and stigmas and all the BS that we do as adults, all the apprehensions and all the fears and all the hysteria and all the anxiety and all the hesitation that we have. They're resilient little boogers. That's the show. I love you guys. I love you. I love you guys. This is the I Love CVille Show. My name is Jerry Miller. This is the best of Charlottesville, Virginia. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. for Real Talk with Keith Smith and myself. Have a good one.